Hey there, it's BitB, and welcome out to another BitB stream. Thanks for coming out. It is Sunday. We don't usually do this on Sunday. Well, it's because I moved it over to here to have our little Jackbox party yesterday. And by the way, thanks everybody who joined me for that. That was ridiculous, nonsensical fun. Are you ready for some more ridiculous, nonsensical fun with this game? Because I'm sure it's going to happen. We are going to be playing a little bit more Dual Destinies. So, shoot, I actually completely forget where we left off. Where did we stop last? You know what? Let's just dive in and see what it is. Oh, boy. I have been congested as all hell, and it is very unfortunate. I'm a little bit, something with aura. I don't know. It's sad. Like, I'm pretty sure it has something to do with allergies, because it seems to fluctuate with whenever, trees decide it is time to populate. Court, I think. Right before court. Yep. Yeah, I know that. Oh, okay, there's the picture. Don't you break on me. Right, let's just go ahead and begin. December 20th, 10:15 a.m., District Court, Courtroom number 5. Oh, and I also need to turn on the audio. Excuse me. There, that's a little important. There, that's a little important. Oh, and I can also hear myself. From where? Oh, from Twitch. How about that? Judge, what?
I suppose we should reconvene the trial of Solomon Starbuck or something.
Objection!
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking the same thing, Judge. Your Honor, could you please come out from under your bench? There are no more bombs, I promise.
Oh, yes, my apologies.
Oh yeah, Shadow says, in addition to allergies and being sick, your wisdom teeth decided to start coming in again. Ah, that sucks. Oh, I'm hoping for the best. Ooh, and also Mint, how's it going? Today you are forced to talk like a homestuck troll. I mean, nobody's forcing you to do that. That is all your decision.
And yours alone. But I'm still a little jumpy when it comes to trials involving bombs.
Yeah, forcing myself to do it. Yeah, there we go.
I mean, first the courtroom exploded.
And then this goofball.
And then Mr. Tonate self-destructed.
I guess that's one way of describing what happened to Tonate.
Anyway, it seems that Mr. Justice was seriously wounded by Mr. Tonate's actions. So you, Mr. Wright, will be taking up the defense? Do you have any do you have an understanding of what has happened in the trial so far?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense is ready.
Very well. Is the prosecution also ready?
Stoic as frickin' ever. Open your eyes. Oh.
I take it you would like me to give the opening statement this time?
Looks like the judge has become a pretty good mind reader. Either that or he has been conditioned. Well, he's certainly seen more than his fair share of colorful prosecutors. You could say he has something of a veteran of sorts.
Let's see. In the previous part of this trial, we learned that the victim, Clay Tarrant, escaped from Launchpad 1 carrying the defendant, Solomon Starbuck. There were explosions on the second floor of the Space Center and on the rocket itself. The two astronauts used the Launchpad 1 corridor to reach the boarding lounge. And how could the victim climb down the ladder if he was carrying the defendant? That was the mystery that needed to be solved. But Mr. Justice proved the victim was killed in the boarding lounge. Prosecutor Blackwell, were you able to discover any new facts related to this point? Upon further investigation, we discovered an oxygen tank fragment in the lounge. Surprisingly, it would appear that Justice Donner's argument was correct.
So that means the testimonies of the first two people on the scene are suspect. There were two people who claimed to be the first on the scene. But can we truly trust their statements? Apparently not. Let's see, the two people were Detective Candace Arm and Yuri Cosmos, right? You think that one of them might have given a false statement to the police? Yes, it's certainly possible. We might have to do a little more digging. Well, why would Candace Arm do it, is the question. I'm very suspect of this, Yuri Cosmo. He just seems really, like, weird. And just as our team was about to cross-examine Detective Arm, the courtroom bombing incident occurred, and the trial was put on hold.
That accursed fellow, he killed my witness. He killed Detective Arm.
Right. So, I don't know. Maybe she's off the hook, or maybe she actually did it before she died. He definitely put the kibosh on anyone asking her about what she saw.
Exactly. In other words, the question of who killed the victim in the boarding lounge has once again become the main focus of this trial.
It's obvious Prosecutor Blackwell still thinks it was Mr. Starbuck. Fulbright said that Blackwell has a thing against the astronaut. Nevertheless, slam! The defense argues there was a third person in the lounge, and that's who killed the victim.
Objection.
To make such reckless claims in a courtroom takes a bold man, or a stupid one.
I like to think I'm a little bit of both.
There was no third person in the boarding lounge. Or have you gone dotty already? Old man.
Objection.
Excuse me? They're probably older than me. Well, they're probably the exact same age. We'll see who's the dotard after I trounce you with my years of experience, little boy. In any case, Mr. Starbuck claims he saw someone leaving the lounge. Furthermore, a Space Center employee also saw a suspicious figure at the scene.
They saw a third person!
Yep, anybody jonesing for coffee?
I see my sister has been running her mouth.
That's right, I almost forgot about that Aura is Prosecutor Blackwell's sister.
No matter, she didn't see this mystery person face clearly. Therefore, there is no evidence to indicate that this person was not the defendant.
I guess the possibility that the figure was Mr. Starbuck is still there.
In brief, we need to determine if a third person was there or not. To this end, we should hear the testimony of one of the first people on the scene.
Director Cosmo, huh? Oh, he kind of shreds my voice, but yeah, I guess we're gonna do with it. Shadow says most people who stand in court and Ace Attorney are both brave and stupid. Oh, I think they're just naive of the ridiculous thing they're going into. He's 34. Are you talking Blackwell or Phoenix, or both?
Very well, bailiff. Please bring the witness to the stand.
Out of there, Segway man.
What? I believe I've seen you before in the newspaper.
Blackwell is like 28, right? I don't remember.
Of course you have. Of course you have, for I am Yuri Cosmo, director of the Cosmo Space Center, which was of course named after me, Yuri Cosmo. Don't you have anything you wish to ask me?
Looks like he's all geared up to do some bragging, as he's done mountains amount, despite the fact he's only been in 2 scenes. Oh, I missed that. Ominously cheered 5 bits. Thank you very much. I remember, yeah, again, Ben was talking the other day about, like, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna buy, like, $1 worth of bits, and I'm just gonna spam you with donations until eventually you get sick of me. Anyways.
Everyone already knows how brilliant you are. Even I am trying to hold back my tears at seeing such a great man standing before me. So could you please proceed directly to your important testimony?
Ah, the mind games.
I see this fine young lad has a proper appreciation of greatness. Then allow me to begin my epochal testimony. That will be recorded in the annals of history.
That speech of Prosecutor Blackwell's just now. It sounded more to me like he was poking fun at Director Cosmo. He didn't think so. It's probably for the best that it sailed right over the director's head.
Now then, Director Cosmo, the condensed version of your illustrious testimony, please. I'm going to speak for 12 hours and you can't stop me. Detective Arm and I rushed toward the boarding lounge together. We went via the control room and peeked in from there to see what was going on inside. We saw a figure standing in the middle of the lounge, and Terran lying on the floor. I hate to say it, but I can only imagine the standing figure must have been Starbuck.
Shadow says, I almost called Director Cosmo Director Scooter. That's a decent nickname.
I see. So, in your testimony, you claim you arrived on the scene after the two had escaped from the launch pad to the lounge, and just after the victim had been killed. Oh, the horror, the humanity! But what I said is what I saw, and what I saw is what I said. Courageous action to take in the face of such terrifying explosions, wouldn't you say? To save my men, I went personally into their epicenter of danger. Risking my own life for theirs.
God, this guy is so drunk on his own ego. Well, what do you know? It sounds like the director really cares about his men. Yeah, although it sounds more like he was scared and just had a peek from far away.
Is the defense ready? Okay, sorry.
I'm getting my old men wires crossed.
Is the defense ready to cross-examine the witness?
Yes, Your Honor. Director Cosmo's testimony is pretty vague. I'm gonna have to press him and draw out more information before I do anything else. Oh, shoot. More of his old man dribble. Fine. Anyway. Rush toward the boarding lounge together. Where were you coming from?
The 6th floor. We were making sure any stragglers made their way to the 4th floor. It was then we heard about Starbuck and Terran, and hurried to the 3rd floor lounge. Oh my. Galactic Scooter here, of course.
Why do you keep calling it galactic? Does it have something to do with space?
Of course. It's specifically designed to be used on galactic battleships.
Those don't exist, sir. I see. Then I take it works in 0G too?
Sadly, no. With the current state of technology as it is, I'm afraid it would just float about and be galactically useless.
Well, that's a galactic bummer.
I see. So you rushed to the boarding lounge on your space-age pogo stick. And when you got to the scene, what did you see?
Freaking space age. Yeah, I like that term.
We went via the control room and peeked in from there to see what's going on inside.
Let's see. According to this diagram, you didn't have to go through the control room to get to boarding lounge 1. It looks like you could have gone there from the southern corridor as well.
Yes, but in her haste, Detective Arm rushed ahead of me towards the control room. All I could do was merely follow behind her.
I see.
So we peeked into the boarding lounge from the control room and
saw a figure standing in the middle of the lounge, Terran lying on the floor. So you couldn't see who that figure was clearly or what they were doing?
Sadly, the only thing I could tell was that it was a person, standing motionless.
He's just standing there. Menacingly!
The defendant, no doubt, staring, aghast at his deed. What other explanation is there?
Ugh, I'm so close. But without evidence, I can't prove that person's the third party. Ooh, this guy's a deadly stare.
I don't relish in this end.
I hate to say it, but I can only imagine the standing figure must have been Starbuck. How so? How you say? Aura Blackwell also saw a suspicious figure in the lounge, but she gave the statement that it was too dark to see the person's face clearly. Did you see the figure's face clearly?
No, not clearly. The lighter they were holding illuminated the area around their feet at the time. But other than that, I could see little else. That's why I could see Terran, but I couldn't see who the other person was.
So for all you know, it might not have been Mr. Starbuck. Isn't that correct?
I would like to believe that. Starbuck isn't the type of man who's capable of murder.
Objection!
How do you know that? When the witness entered the boarding lounge, there were no third person there. Isn't that correct, Great Space Center Director?
Yes, that's right. Only Starbuck and Terran were there by that time. After we peeked in, the lounge suddenly went dark, and the figure vanished. You mean they disappeared? That's odd.
Objection!
That's not odd. People disappear all the time.
The reason the figure appeared to vanish is because it was the defendant. When the witness weren't looking, he fell to the floor and feigned unconsciousness.
Hold it!
Hold on. Director Cosmo, did you ever take your eyes off the scene?
Just for a brief instant, about as long as it takes for a shooting star to go by.
If you took your eyes off the scene, then this third person could have escaped during that time.
But what escape route could the person have used?
The direction opposite the control room. The southern door to the elevators. There's no security lock on that door, so it would have been possible to escape that way.
Objection!
All things are possible, right, Dodo? The real question is, do you have any proof?
Like always, bullshitting my way through.
If we're just talking possibilities, we could each profess whatever we'd like. An inmate who used to be a university professor and lunar researcher used to say that there's a kingdom of little green men who lived under the surface of the moon.
As long as they don't punish us in the name of said moon for what we've done to it.
But I say, where's your proof that this quaint kingdom exists?
He's calling your theory a work of fiction, boss. I got that! And he's right. I don't have any proof yet. Still. The southern door was a possible escape route. I better make a mental note of that. Director Cosmos, may I ask you a question?
Yes?
Why did you look away from the boarding lounge?
There's actually another tale of bravery behind the answer to that.
Funny Stuff says, the Phoenix method. Bluff to victory. And when they question if you have evidence, bluff harder until you get the evidence. Yep.
It was when Detective Arms saw the figure and raised her gun. Being a great humanitarian and protector of mankind, I tried to stop her.
What? You're saying Detective Arm raised her gun as soon as she saw the figure?
I imagine her instincts as a detective told her they were the killer.
I don't know about that. And were you able to prevent Detective Arm from firing her gun?
I'm afraid I was too late. I was unable to stop her. She identified herself clearly, and then she fired 2 warning shots at the shadowy figure. This information about Detective Arm's action sounds critically important. Please add it to your testimony.
Ah, yes, okay. Now we might have a hole to work with.
Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots at the figure.
Hold it!
And neither of these 2 shots hit the culprit?
That is correct. The detective appears to have missed on purpose.
But did she really? There's something about this that bothers me. So Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots, did she? That's the first time that info has come out. Wonder if I could find any inconsistencies. Interesting. Okay, well. Let's head over to that statement, shall we? Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots at the figure. Now, one thing that immediately kind of springs to mind is the fact that 1 bullet hole was found at the scene. Specifically 1. Actually, well, come to think of it, I think they found 2 bullets. So, 2 warning shots at the figure. I'm wondering, there might have been some kind of motive to said shots. Let me see. The perp held a lighter with an Earth emblem on it on their left hand and a knife in their right. Clearly, I mean, if we can prove that it wasn't just warning shots, we have some kind of a chance at this. And I would like to think that perhaps this has something... Maybe this has something to do with the fact that the perpetrator had a knife on him? Shadow says, I just watched someone play this case. You still can't remember? That's okay. Phoenix Wright just kind of, like, blurs into each other after a while. Okay, well, then we have this. Single bullet hole was found in the boarding lounge. The bullet itself is missing. That's kind of a mystery in and of itself. Discovered in a gutter that runs along the south wall of the boarding lounge. It was fired from a 10 caliber handgun. So, what could we how could we say this, and how can we prove this, that these were not warning shots? I would like to think that maybe she was attempting to try and shoot down who she knew was the killer. So I'm going to say I'm going to try and present this. Objection! Shoot! This piece of evidence makes it clear that there is a contradiction in the witness's testimony.
I'm afraid I don't see it.
Not even with your sharp and discerning eye, Your Honor?
I'm afraid not, but you claim to see it. But you claim to see it?
Well, not really, Your Honor. I thought maybe you would.
Mr. Wright.
Uh-oh. Now now the judge is mad at me. Maybe I better take another look at the evidence. Okay, all right, let's think. Again, Detective Arm... maybe there's something to do with, like, the earlier testimony. Control room. Arm and I rushed toward the boarding line. Okay, I don't think there's anything that would, you know, embellish the fact that Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots. So I think I do need to present on this. But again, it's got to have something to do with the shots. So, now the way I see it, it's either this one or this one. Okay, so discovered in a gutter that runs along the south wall of the boarding lounge. It was fired from a 10 caliber handgun. Single bullet hole was found in the boarding lounge. Okay, so maybe it has something to do with the bullet holes. Technically speaking, wouldn't there be 2 if they were supposed to be warning shots? Why would she spread them so ridiculously wide apart? That's my thought. Objection! Okay, let's see if I was right. Are you sure you were really paying attention to what Detective Arm was doing?
You doubt my words? Words that will someday be written down in history books?
Somehow I don't think those exact words will ever be written down in any history books.
Mr. Wright, could you please explain yourself so we can all understand?
You say that Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots, and yet only 1 bullet hole was ever found at the scene.
What?
Only 1 bullet hole means the gun was only fired once, and yet Director Cosmos is saying Detective Arm fired 2 shots. No editor would allow such a glaring contradiction into a history book.
Objection. Unfortunately for you, the witness's words are true. We confirm that 2 shots were fired from Detective Arm's gun.
Objection! But there was only 1 bullet hole at the scene. Where did the other bullet hole vanish to? Eagle! Hawk, rather.
You should know the answer to that already.
I should?
During the previous trial, a certain oxygen tank was presented as evidence. We've already discussed that it was ruptured in the lounge, have we not? Well, it appears that the thing that ruptured it was a bullet. A bullet that was found near the tank, to be precise. This bullet was fired from a .38 caliber gun, the same caliber as the detective's gun.
What? Ah!
The rifling marks also match up. There's no question that the bullet was fired from Detective Arm's gun.
Okay, confirmed.
Rifling marks. They're like a gun's fingerprints on a bullet, correct? And examining the rifling marks on a bullet can tell us the gun, which gun it was fired from, here. One of the bullets the detective fired found its way into the holographic image display. The other bullet came to a stop near the victim's oxygen tank. The evidence confirms the director's statement that the detective fired 2 shots.
My beautiful contradiction. Gone. All gone. So that bullet hole was from a .38 caliber, huh? I better update the record. Okay. Keep that in mind. I think I know where we're going with this.
Very good. Now we know the fate of both the shots the detective arm fired. Mr. Wright, does that clear up all your questions?
Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots. One hit the holographic display, and the other hit the oxygen tank. Does that really clear up everything about what happened at the scene? No, of course not. There's a third bullet we gotta talk about. No, Your Honor, it doesn't. Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots from a .38 caliber gun. But that doesn't explain the existence of a certain piece of evidence found at the scene. A piece that points to the existence of a third person.
Oh? Very well, but it won't do to keep us waiting, Mr. Wright. What piece of evidence suggests the possibility of a third person at the scene?
I think that would have to be this extra gun, which is a completely different caliber.
Take that!
And what is this metal pedal supposed to be?
Pebble. Just a little something of great importance we found at the crime scene, Your Honor.
You found it where?
That's right, I hid evidence. Evidence. In a floor gutter at the crime scene. It looks like the police and prosecution both missed it. Furthermore, this is a .10 caliber bullet, making it much smaller than the one of Detective Arm's .38 caliber.
Then that means...
Exactly. One more person must have been there in the lounge. A third person who had a gun that could fire .10 caliber bullets! Right, who else owns a gun on this station? And if that's true, it explains why Detective Arm fired warning shots. This third person fired at Detective Arm and Director Cosmos with their gun. And in return, the detective fired her warning shots. Isn't that how it really went down, Director Cosmos?
It looks like you've deduced my miraculous tale of survival. Yes, you're absolutely correct. The mystery person fired upon us. What's this now?
And why'd you hide that information? Get the hell off of your freaking Segway and talk to us.
What? You never breathed a word of any of this to me before. Well, all great men have a secret or two, don't you know?
A kooky old man.
Foolish old geezer.
So Director Cosmo really had been hiding the presence of a third person all along. But the question is, why would he hide them? Director Cosmos, I want you to testify to the court about what you really saw. Mid thinks he's bluffing. Maybe, I don't know.
You may be a very great man, but in my courtroom, you are just another witness. You won't receive special treatment here. Now, please, give accurate testimony.
Perhaps he is trying to, like, just spin a tall tale.
Detective Arm and I rushed to the control rooms together. In the lounge, we saw a figure standing in the middle of the room and Terran on the floor. We were still in the control room to the east when the figure fired at us.
Wouldn't we have found a bullet over there if that was the case?
Given that there was no third person in the lounge when the witness entered it, does this mean the person who fired the gun had to have been the defendant?
Not necessarily. It's still possible that it was someone else. Most likely, as soon as Detective Arm and Director Cosmos discovered this person, they escaped through the southern door, the one that didn't have a security lock.
Objection!
Double-edged swords are a tricky lot. Mishandle one, and it's you who was cut down.
Huh?
Your reasoning could apply if Spaceboy were the killer as well. Think about it. After being discovered, he could have fired the .10 caliber gun. Detective Arm would have responded by firing 2 warning shots. All he had to do was feign unconscious to invent the possibility of a third person.
Objection! This game has murder in it. Yeah, it's very violent, Mr. Hobo. By the way, hello. But Mr. Starbuck didn't have a gun in his possession when he was found by police, nor has a gun been found at the crime scene. Its absence can only be explained if there was a third party who took it with them. Maybe it was shot into space. I don't...
Recall the existence of a trash chute in the boarding lounge. The defendant could have simply thrown the gun down the chute.
Objection!
But you can't deny the possibility of a third person leaving with the weapon.
Objection!
It's up to you to prove that possibility.
Oh, of course.
And I trust you haven't forgotten my little piece of decisive evidence.
What evidence? Clearly you did forget.
Why, the detonator switch that was found in Mr. Starbuck's pocket, naturally. The most compelling evidence of all that tells us he is the culprit.
Yeah, I did forget all about that.
Look, Your Baldness, how deliciously obvious is it that they lack the evidence to rival mine?
I'm so sick of all these people that are on ego trips for this mission, I swear to God. Wow, he sliced our third-person theory to ribbons and served it to us, just like that. A plate of sashimi.
Yes, well, I have a question of my own, actually. That bullet that the mysterious figure shot, what did it hit exactly? It hit me.
What?
So does that mean you're a ghost?
Oh, Your Honor. So fanciful.
I was wondering when you'd realize it, Your Baldness.
He's a ghost?
What the fu- Director Cosmos is an authentic, bona fide ghost. He could even pass through walls.
Pull the other one. Prosecutor Blackwell, shame on you for testing the nice old gentleman.
Your Baldness, it was all in jest. Please show yourself again. Are you sure? In that case, how did you manage to survive being shot, Director Cosmo?
Ha ha! I'm glad you asked. It was a miracle befitting a great history-making figure such as myself. The bullet hit my glorious Medal of Honor, whereby it ricocheted, thus saving my life.
What?
It's like a Nokia phone. Mint says, I think the judge is a real ghost since he just materializes in his chair. I mean, most people do in this game. But you're right. That's unbelievable. I have to check this out. Oh, wow. Look at that. There's one extra Gyaxa star. The odds are literally astronomical. I guess it really was a miracle. It's beginning to really feel like the Cosmos is watching out for Director Cosmos.
But why did you conceal this information, Director Cosmo?
A great man such as myself has to hide things on occasion, no matter how much it hurts. It is the plight of the truly great. It may be hard for this generation to understand.
Well, bleh. Shadow says, I headcanon that there's, like, a shelf under the court bench where they keep all their files and evidence that's also big enough for a person to fit into. So the judge just sort of crawls in there, goes into a fetal position, and cries. I can see it. I don't know, but it sounds fishy to me. What else is he hiding? Let's just cross-examine him and see what we can find out.
Now then, Mr. Wright, your cross-examination, please.
Hopefully this will open up some doors. Anyway, Detective Arm and I rush to the... you know what? I've not done this in a very long time, but I'm absolutely going to save right here because I've been really bad about that one. Okay. Detective Arm and I rush to the control room together.
Hold
it! Judge crawls under desk, auto-tuned baby crying. We've already heard all about that part. Don't you have any new information?
Well, let me see. If you have an hour or two, I could tell you all about the Hat Wand miracle.
We already know all about that too. Tell us about something related to the incident.
I see. You want to know about incidents. Well then, let me tell you about the many incidents that made me the man I am today. Yes, if you have the time, I will tell you all about the upbringing of this great man.
You've told us all about this already as well. What we need now is your testimony.
Did I really already tell you all about my upbringing? I don't recall doing so.
Director Cosmos, perhaps you could save your boastful tales for later?
If I must. Shoot, in a court of law, I have no choice. Well, we peeked in through the control room door and... in the lounge, we saw a figure standing in the middle of the room and Terran on the floor.
But it was so dark you couldn't see this figure's face, isn't that right?
Yes, the room was as deep and dark as outer space itself. Speaking of outer space, during the Hat One launch 7 years ago...
Jesus.
If it's about the Hat One miracle again, you can saw it off and tell me it's a stray... if it's a stray mutt. Oh, God.
Ha ha ha! Excellent idea. No reason why the animal world shouldn't hear of my greatness.
And so they shall. But first, your testimony, what happened next?
So dazed and confused.
We were still in the control room to the east when the figure fired at us.
Oh shoot, I skipped through that entire freaking thing. No! Alright, while he was there, he was shot at by someone with a 10 caliber gun. Well, the bullet hit his metal, so he was able to escape with his life. He's a very lucky man. No wonder people think he's great. Yeah, I'm pretty lucky myself, so if he's a great man, then I'm the king of all cosmos. The king of the cosmos. La 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 la. No. Anyway. So, in other words, you were fired at while you were at the control room door.
That is correct.
There's something not quite right about that. Director Cosmos, the bullet this person fired hit you. Isn't that right?
Yes, it was a miracle befitting a great history-making figure such as myself.
Shadow says Director Cosmos may be the center of all cosmos, but Phoenix Wright is the king of all cosmos.
The bullet the figure fired hit me while I was in the control room. But as the cosmos would have it, the bullet bounced off my glorious Medal of Honor.
In that case, the bullet should have wound up somewhere around the control room door. I think I see where this is going. He's a spaceman. He is the true Earth clan. Okay, so... let me see. We were still in the control room to the east when the figure fired. I don't think that is true. And there are a couple of different ways that I feel like I could probably point this out. Let me think. Starbucks prints were found on this door's lock. Also, what other things do we have in here? Control room door lock. The door lock to the east. It can only be operated by director. Backup power lets it function even when the power goes out. Discovered in a gutter that runs along the south wall of the boarding lounge. It was fired from a 10 caliber handgun. I think this is absolutely it. Because, I mean, that would have had to travel pretty frigging far in order to make it. So, boink. Director Cosmos, I believe you are telling this great court a glorious lie.
A great man like me tell a lie? Have you ever heard of such a thing in all of history?
Yes. Plenty of horrifying liars have existed in history, sir. My accusation is based on the positions of the people who were in the lounge. According to your testimony, you and Detective Arm were near the control room door. And the mystery figure was standing in the middle of the boarding lounge. If, as you say, the figure fired a gun at you from this position, then the bullet would have traveled in this direction. However, we found the 10 caliber bullet here.
Oh,
This trajectory and where the bullet was actually found contradict each other. Director Cosmos, where were you really when you were being shot at? You spin me right round, baby, right. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the human merry-go-round.
Objection!
don't tell me you've forgotten already. Didn't the witness himself just tell you? The bullet hit his metal. Of this, there's no mistake.
Objection!
Right. Ricochet is what I assume he's going to say. But in that case, the bullet should have been found near the east side of the room. Are you trying to say that you can explain this inconsistency?
Of course.
I didn't think so. What?
Oh, great Director Cosmos.
Yes. Is there something you'd like me to expound upon?
You were in fact not in the control room to the east, were you? You were looking into the lounge from the door to the south. Is that not right?
Yeah.
What are you getting at? It's bad news for me, whatever it is.
Use your own brain. Your head must have some use other than housing that bird's nest.
You're the only bird brain around here, you jerk. Bird's nest? Why does everyone pick on my hair?
Director Cosmos and Detective witnessed the scene from the southern door. The killer fired at them there, and that is why the bullet was found in the south.
Oh, that makes some sense, actually.
Also, the witness being at the southern door is rather favorable for the prosecution.
Huh? I've got a bad feeling about this.
How about it, Director, if you don't tell the truth this time?
Oh dear, he's angry now.
Yikes! His handcuffs!
You will become but rust upon my sword. I relish the chance to cut down a great man.
Right, keep looking for a great man, sir.
Yeah, all right, I'll tell the truth. Just put your sword away. You are correct. I, the great Yuri Cosmos, was looking into the room from the southern door.
What? That's the complete opposite of all the testimony he's given so far.
And now you have lost your possibility that a third person was in the room.
I have? How?
The director and the detective were near the southern door. Meaning the killer couldn't have escaped through there? The western door required print recognition. The corridor beyond was filled with smoke. The only escape route left was the eastern control room door. And the only way to get through there was with Director Cosmos' fingerprints. In short, there would be no escape for any third person had there been one.
My third person just disappeared. Like in one of Drosey's magic tricks. Except without the panties. Oh, hello, a literal octopus. Hi.
Order in the court. Director Cosmos, why did you tell such an outrageous lie?
Probably to fluff his own ego somehow. I mean, that's what he's been doing as of late.
You were covering for the defendant, isn't that right?
Yes, it was all for the love of my men. If I said I was in the eastern control room, it would mean the culprit could have escaped through the southern door. It would have meant that there could have been a third person. All I wanted to do was protect Starbuck. I said I was in the control room to invent an escape route for a third person.
I don't think you have enough of a brain to figure that one out, but okay. What a convoluted lie. Was he really covering for the defendant? Oh, Shadow's in a lot of pain from his teeth. Oh, man. I don't know what kind of painkillers would work when it comes to, you know, growing in wisdom teeth. I mean, they probably know. They know about the fact that you're in pain, that's for sure. Mint says, I wanted to protect Starbuck. I don't want to lose my Frappajahoozas.
It looks like we've come to a conclusion. That the defense's argument, the possibility of a third person, has crumbled.
No!
It's over.
Yikes. The judge is about to hand down his verdict. Think, Phoenix. Think. This is the perfect time to try and turn my thinking around. If a third person had no way of escaping the scene, then what if one of the people at the scene was this third person? Wait, what if the whole premise is all wrong? Director Cosmos said that he and Detective Arm rushed to the scene together. But what if that premise isn't true? What if one of them reached the scene before the other one? And if that person entered the lounge, then they would be the third person.
The defendant is the only one who could have killed the victim and shot at the director. There doesn't appear to be any room for argument against these claims. I will now render my verdict. Oh, you stuck-up little brat, what?
All right. Shadow says, that comment reminds me of Victor Kudo with his Javachinos. Yes. Please, wait, Your Honor. There's still one possibility.
Well, this had better be good, Mr. Wright.
There is one, and only one person who could have escaped from the scene. And that person would be the first person who arrived on the scene. Then, upon entering the boarding lounge. The second person to arrive came via the southern door. That's why the first person fled from the room, using an escape route that was accessible only to them.
Very well, let's hear more about this theory. Who is this one person who could have escaped from the boarding lounge?
Oh boy. Shadow says, also, sorry for the late reply. Obviously cannot function properly. Dude, totally cool. It's fine. Tooth pain ain't no joke. I'm actually thinking about going and getting some dentistry work done myself, because I need to get a couple of cavities that I filled, like, checked over. It's been a while. Anyway, I can only think of one person that could have potentially got there first, and I can actually indict them of something.
Take that! What? But that's... Mr. Wright! What are you claiming here?
Of all the people who were at the scene, only the witness could have escaped. The director is the only one with the authority to open the control room door, after all.
But that means...
Exactly. The true identity of the third person is our current witness, Director Yuri Cosmos!
What?
What? Everyone pop your monocles now!
Order in the court, I say! Mr. Wright, you will explain yourself in more detail!
I assert that Director Cosmos arrived at the scene before Detective Arm, and entered the boarding lounge alone. Detective Arm arrived after that, and saw a suspicious figure, who was actually Director Cosmos, standing in the lounge. And that's why she fired those 2 warning shots.
I've been hit on the starboard bow.
Yeah, now we're headed into deep territory. Yes. Captain Wright is a direct hit on the enemy ship, sir. A magnificent shot. B6.
Warning shot fired from the enemy ship. Prepare to intercept.
Cosmos, you have told a lie in this court once again.
I've been hit on the port side. The enemy has called in reinforcements.
We're at the Cosmos Control Center, requesting permission to ask that you return to reality.
But my ship will not go down to anything less than the ultimate weapon of evidence.
Objection!
Like everybody. But I do have evidence. In fact, you could say that your battleship bears its scar. If Director Cosmos is the third person, Aurora Blackwell saw. This third person fired at Detective Arm and Director Cosmos with their gun. And in return, the detective fired her warning shots. Isn't that how it really went down, Director Cosmos?
Looks like you've deduced my miraculous tale of survival. Yes, you're absolutely correct. The mystery person fired upon us.
Director Cosmos must be the one who fired the 10 caliber gun. When Detective Arm discovered him in the lounge, it only makes sense that he would have turned and shot at her. Therefore, the evidence on the director's body is of a different kind of relevance than before. Once we compare it against another piece of evidence, the mark that you received from the third party will be all the proof we need to prove that you are the one there in the lounge.
Brace for further impact.
Oh yeah, okay, this message was sent a little earlier. Mintiously says, the defendant starts spinning. The defense attorney starts spinning. The prosecution starts spinning. Everyone starts spinning. It's nothing but Beyblade. Comparison against this piece of evidence will prove that you were the one in the lounge. Let's see. The 38 caliber handgun bullet. The 38 caliber bullet found on the floor at the scene didn't hit the oxygen tank. It hit Director Cosmos' metal. If we have that ricochet mark on the metal analyzed, I'm sure the caliber will match up. And if that mark proves to be from a 38 caliber bullet, it will prove that you are the third person we've been looking for.
The bridge is destroyed. Losing altitude. All hands abandon ship.
Please have him just jump off of his Segway. Mint says, Phoenix hasn't aged at all. He just opened his coat. Whatever. He's letting it all out nowadays.
If that's true, then what about the bullet that hit the oxygen tank?
It was the 10 caliber bullet. In other words, it was the bullet fired by Yuri Cosmos. Isn't that right, Director?
No, you've got it all wrong. What? The engines have started again? It's a miracle. I'm not going down yet.
Witness stopped us at once and confessed to the truth.
Yeah, everybody thinks he did it now. If you don't want the history books to say that a great man was a great liar, then accept your fate and tell the truth.
Are you giving me orders? Me, the great director of the Cosmos Space Center? But the Cosmos revolver on me!
Oh my god. Oh, I love this guy.
Someone get me off of this thing!
Jane, stop this crazy thing.
Order in the court, and will someone please stop the witness from spinning? It's making me dizzy.
He changed his shirt into a vest. Yeah, somewhat.
Oh, thank goodness we were able to stop him from spinning off the face of the earth.
Or drilling into it.
While he was twirling, I took liberty of running an analysis on the mark of the metal. It was made by a 38 caliber bullet, matching it with the size of Detective Arm's firearm. Are you ready to confess to the truth, witness?
No, you've got it all wrong. This is just a misunderstanding.
Is he gonna start piling on more lies? It looks like it. But no matter how many lies he tells, I'll just expose them one by one. I'll make that big liar tell the truth. Yeah, what else does he have to freaking say? Oh, to be continued. Okay. Next chapter. This is gonna be going on for a while longer then. Save times. Nope, no. Okay, let's go. Right, explain yourself.
Director Cosmos, a new possibility has been presented by the defendants. They are claiming that you were this third person.
Forgive me. I'm so sorry.
So this great prisoner of space... pioneer, rather, of space development is revealed to be just another fabulous cur. I only have one question for the likes of you. Shall I send you off quickly or very quickly?
Somehow you... Okay, now I know he didn't do it, because if like, the prosecution... Alright, yeah, if the prosecution is now gunning for him, I feel like this is not the case. The evidence doesn't lie, Director Cosmos, so don't try to talk your way out of this.
Fine. I'll tell you the truth. It's all just as you say, Mr. Wright. It's true that I was there in the boarding lounge. I got there before Detective Arm, and when she arrived, she fired warning shots at me. I was afraid people would mistake me for the killer, so I escaped to the control room. Then I went past the elevators and all the way to the boarding lounge one again.
Boy, he must have been booking it.
I came up behind Detective Arm and pretended to be the second on the scene.
Octopus says, yeah, he seems awfully intent on getting him to be the suspect.
What a troublesome old man you are, with such convoluted deeds and thoughts. I see. So then, are you still insisting that you did not kill the victim?
Of course I am. When I arrived at the lounge alone, I saw the true killer! The great Yuri Cosmos was a history-making witness.
Now hold on just one moment. We just proved a few minutes ago that the third person that Mr. Starbuck and Miss Aura Blackwell saw was you.
No, it wasn't me. I saw the person as well. If I were the killer, why would I lie to cover for Starbuck? I would just leave him to take the fall.
Point. Yeah, that's an excellent point.
All I wanted to do was protect Starbuck. I said I was in the control room to invent an escape route for a third person.
Shadow says, Phoenix is just super tired and doesn't want to deal with yet another super convoluted case. Well, we're diving, pretty much neck deep into this one. Well, it makes some sense that he told those lies to cover for Mr. Starbuck. Still, a lie's a lie, Athena. So Director Cosmos claims he's not the culprit. But where's the proof?
I just remembered. I have an alibi. Miss Blackwell said that she saw the killer at 10 a.m., correct?
Yes, and?
Well, I was on the 4th floor helping with the evacuation effort. Ask any member of the staff you like. They'll corroborate me.
The director is not fibbing to the court for once. I confirm that he has an alibi for the time specified.
So, you're claiming that Miss Blackwell saw the killer commit the crime first at 10 a.m. And that you arrived at the lounge after that?
Yes, and I believe the person I saw is the same person that Miss Blackwell saw. Although it was pitch black, so it was more of a shadowy figure and less of a person. And I couldn't actually see their face, but it was definitely the silhouette of an earthling.
Good, we know it's not an alien. Cool. The sad life of Phoenix Wright. That is correct. And Shadow says, this is probably one of, if not the most confusing cases of the whole series, in your personal opinion. Oh boy. Very well. As long as he has an alibi, we can't very well claim Director Cosmos was the killer. No, we can't. Then again, maybe we don't need to yet. I wonder if he was really covering for Mr. Starbuck. Your Honor, the defense moves to have the director testify about the person he saw.
Very well. Director Cosmos, your testimony, please.
What he really saw.
As I tried to enter the lounge, the true killer inside fired a gun at me. I hid to avoid getting shot. But when I tried to get another look, they had vanished into thin air. I was near the elevator side door, and, well, the launch pad 1 door. And the control room door should have been shut tight and to the killer.
So where the heck would he have gone? So you were shot by the killer as well, and then they disappeared?
Yes. though luckily no harm came to my glorious body. Unfortunately, the bullet hit Terran's oxygen tank. I know because I heard a pang! That must have been the sound of the tank being ruptured.
Wait, but I thought the bullet hit his metal. That was Detective Arm's bullet, remember? Right, what a mess this is turning into. So, let's see. Director Cosmos is claiming that when he found Mr. Terran and his killer, the culprit shot a 10 caliber bullet at him. Right, but it actually hit Mr. Terran's oxygen tank and ruptured it. And then the killer disappeared, and the director went into the boarding lounge. When Detective Arm caught up and fired those warning shots at him. Judging by his medal, it looks like one of them almost took him out too. Good summary, but that doesn't explain where our mystery killer went. Director Cosmos, I was wondering if you could elaborate on when the figure disappeared?
I'm ashamed to admit I tried to hide myself when I was shot at, but when I peeped back into the lounge, the real killer was gone. I rushed into the lounge straight away to investigate. But what I found was Terran with a knife in his chest and Starbuck out cold on the floor.
So we have a culprit who vanished from a scene that had no escape route. Clearly we are working with ghosts.
Vanished without a trace. It's truly like one of the great mysteries of the cosmos.
Silence.
A riddle of the ages indeed. I'd rather know how a fibbing lech such as you, or leech rather, can be lauded as great.
Oh, don't, you're just picking on him now.
A great man is always misunderstood in his own time. But he must remain true to himself, even if those around him don't understand.
Wow, that might be the first true statement he's said all day. But how do you suppose this person managed to vanish so suddenly?
Simple. Because it was Spaceboy himself. When he was spotted by the director and Aura, he quickly feigned unconsciousness. That would certainly take all the mystery out of the idea of a vanishing culprit.
I want to raise an objection, but I don't have any counter evidence. Wow, that's a first. Just like, okay, I abstain from object. Director Cosmos, when you saw this person, did you also see Mr. Starbuck on the floor?
No, because it was as dark as a black hole in there. I didn't see Starbuck until the other person vanished, and I entered the room.
That wasn't exactly helpful.
I'm prepared to accept your surrender, right, Ono?
Shush. I can't find any holes in this testimony, but I can't give up. Mr. Wright, why don't you let me help? Huh? While the director was giving his testimony, I detected a cacophony of discord. Which means he's hiding his true feelings from us, huh? This just might help us find what happened to our vanished killer. Okay, cool. Octopus says, wait, but they said they were making an escape route in the beginning, right? Yeah, God, I don't freaking know. This is a convoluted story. Athena has a Discord server? I guess. That'd be great, Athena. Let's see what you can do with them. You got it, boss! I won't want to miss the chance to delve into a great mind. He's not that great. Yuri Cosmos, prepare to hand over the secrets of your heart to me. Beep, bop, boop.
Bop, boop.
Right. Let's see what's weird about his statement. As I tried to enter the lounge, the true killer inside fired a gun at me. All that kind of makes sense. Surprise, sadness, and also, well, maybe the sadness is a little bit weird. I hid to avoid getting shot. But when I tried to get another look, they had vanished into thin air. I was near the elevator side door. And well, the launch pad won. Why are you sad about that? And the control room door should have been shut tight to the killer. What? Dudeski. Why are you sad about this? Correct me if I'm wrong, but you seem to be afraid of the launch pad door.
The great Yuri Cosmos? Afraid? And what basis do you have for that outlandish accusation?
Whether I have any basis or not, you seem quite distressed by it.
Most certainly not.
Director Cosmos! There's something about the launch pad door you're not telling us, isn't there? Oh no. He's looping again. Wow, he's speechless. It looks like you hit the nail on the head, boss. It's working, boss. One more punch and it'll be a knockout. There seems to be one more emotion that's at odds with his testimony. Go get him! Okay, back in the Matrix it is. Time to pinpoint our way to victory. Right. As I tried to enter the lounge, the true killer inside fired a gun at me. In that circumstance... Alright, so another thing that's sort of screwing with me here is the fact that he's angry at this point. I mean, I guess you'd be angry at somebody just like, what kind of bastard would shoot at me? But I feel like the better emotions would be those two, which they are, but what's with this small amount of anger? No, did I mess that up? When we view your emotions alongside your testimony, we find the unexpected emotion. Wait a minute. There really isn't anything strange here. I don't know, but I think maybe we made a mistake, Mr. Wright. Yeah, probably. Oh, Shadow says, I always got a little mixed up about the sadness-fear thing in the Mood Matrix. I always assumed it was just sadness, even though Athena specifically said sadness and fear at the very beginning. I'm just going by what the face says. Does it look sad? Does it look angry? I think maybe you're right. Let's take another look. Unexpected emotion. Maybe it's like the absence of an emotion, perhaps? Enter the lounge. The true killer inside fired a gun at me. I hid to avoid getting shot. When I tried to get another look, they had vanished into thin air. Hold the phone! I would be quite surprised about that if that were to happen. Yeah. You must have thought it was very strange that the killer vanished into thin air.
I did. That kind of thing just doesn't happen usually.
And yet, at that time, you barely registered any shock at the occurrence.
Oh, what? Why are you...
I can only think of one reason as to why you weren't surprised by the killer's vanishing act. You must have had a good idea of where they went. Isn't that right?
Wow, what? No, of course not. That's preposterous. Only I can enter the control room. And the area behind the launch pad door was filled with smoke, making it impassable. And as for the southern door... I was literally there, you buffoon. I was standing right there. So there was nowhere for the killer to run to.
Maybe, or maybe not. You went into the room to check on Mr. Starbuck and Mr. Tarrant, yes? What if the culprit took that opportunity to silently slip out through the southern door?
I highly doubt it. As you recall, right after I entered the lounge, Detective Arm came rushing towards it herself via the southern hallway. Anyone trying to escape through there would have been caught by her.
And yet the director wasn't surprised the killer vanished. So you're absolutely sure there was no escape route for the culprit to use? I'll just input those two pieces of data, and yes, that's just what I wanted to see. Shadow says, what I mean by that is that in the situation where you point out the blue-faced launchpad door, you went, why is he sad about the door? People aren't normally sad because of... Oh, okay. So you thought there was some kind of a sadness going on involved with like, oh, boo-hoo, oh, the turmoil, the door is open. I see. Presto changeo, less Discord. No, more Discord. It gets rid of Skype. It looks like we're on the right track. Thanks, Athena. Now to make sense of what we've learned. Director Cosmos wasn't surprised that the culprit suddenly vanished from the lounge, which points to the possibility that he knew where the killer had escaped to. Furthermore, Talking about the door to the launch pad made him uneasy. In other words, he's probably hiding something about the launch pad 1 door. When we put these two pieces together, only one solution to this puzzle comes to mind. Director Cosmos, did the real killer escape through here? Dudes, do I really need to point at this?
Take that!
Through Launchpad 1 to escape, didn't they?
Yes, no.
Disaster to starboard! We're going to crash into an asteroid! A master tactician you are not. But the area beyond that door was filled with smoke, wasn't it? True, but this is still the only logical answer there is. If we could just figure out what the director is hiding about the Launchpad 1 door, we should be able to iron out the logical inconsistencies.
But that door requires fingerprint recognition. Only Starbuck, Terran, and I have access. I don't see how the killer could have opened that security lock, do you?
That's an easy one. The killer was right there in the boarding lounge, meaning there's a way he could have easily gotten past the security lock. Come to think of it, we did examine the prints on the fingerprint recognition device. I propose that the killer used this person's fingerprints to get past security. Oh god, whose fingerprints was it that was on that? I don't remember. There's a okay. I wonder if that fingerprint reader would actually have to... Oh, actually, wouldn't it be Solomon Starbuck? I feel like his prints were on that. My badge!
Take that!
Let me see.
That's...
Mr. Starbuck was lying unconscious there in the boarding lounge. Anybody could have easily gotten past the security lock by using Mr. Starbuck's prints. And actually, Mr. Starbuck's prints are exactly what we found on the device's screen. It looks like he does have something to hide about the Launchpad 1 door. And I'm betting it's got something to do with the culprit's escape route. But I don't have enough information to see the whole picture yet.
You know, something just occurred to me. Would you like to hear it?
Oh, of course. Little nuggets of wisdom from the judge. Oh, yes, by all means.
There's a security camera in boarding lounge 1. Right.
Right, the one that recorded the victim and the defendant. Oh, what about it, Your Honor?
If the true culprit escaped into the Launchpad 1 corridor, then that might be recorded on the security footage as well. Then, the mystery would be solved. What do you think of my logic?
Oh, sir, you're so close. Even the courtroom knows.
I hope you didn't strain your faculties too much for that, your boldness. I beg your pardon. Look, if we played the security footage beyond this point... Oh my! The footage cuts off! The camera was running on backup power, but apparently the power cables were damaged. Most likely by the after effects of the explosion. There is no footage after this, be it of criminals or space aliens. And I thought it was such a good idea, too. Just because your grandchild is watching from the gallery, it doesn't mean you should try to show off too much. Grandpa Baldness.
Who the heck's your grandchild?
Prosecutor Blackwell, how do you know about my grandchild? Good freaking question.
Octopus says, seems kind of suspicious that it would cut off at that part. I mean, the convenient power outages and whatnot. We've seen that before. Maybe it'll come up. Who knows? I think his grandchild just learned a little about the harshness of the adult world. You know, his grandchild is probably an adult at this stage. He's so old. Setting aside the issue of grandchildren, I'd like to have the witness continue. Director Cosmos, could you tell us more about when you entered the lounge?
If I must.
What are you hiding?
Here to avoid getting shot.
Okay, so you were scared, clearly. You were very scared. After the killer vanished, I went into the lounge. Still scared, but that kind of makes sense. But that's when Detective Arm appeared from the elevator side door. I guess surprise would kind of work.
And then the detective shot at me.
That makes a little sense.
So you see, the killer could have only escaped to the launch pad, right?
All right, which one of these bits is awkward? Hid to avoid getting shot. Yep, hidden. After the killer vanished, I went to the lounge. Would he still be terrified in that circumstance? I don't know. I hear a strange noise coming from this particular one. Then the detective shot at me. I would feel all of those emotions in the event I was being shot at. I don't know. After the kill, all right, the one thing that's really popping out to me is the fact that he went into the lounge and he was still kind of scared. I mean, I probably would still be too, but... Nope, apparently not. When we view your emotions alongside testimony, we find the unexpected emotion dab. Okay, so that wasn't right. Maybe we made a mistake, Mr. Wright. Let me think. Maybe you're right. Let's take another look. Must be unexpected emotion here somewhere. What would it be? Went into the lounge. That's when Detective Arm appeared from the elevator side door. And then the detective shot at me. It might have something to do with something on this. Let me see. Oopsies. I skipped through the whole thing. What do you think about Director Cosmo's emotional response, Athena? Actually, my cat's really sick, you know? What? Oh, I'm very sorry to hear that. And on top of that, my dog just doesn't seem to want to play with me. What are you telling me all this now? Why are you telling me all this now? Just humor me, okay? Now, when you heard about my cat, and then about my dog, which story made you feel sadder? The story about your cat, of course. It's only natural. Exactly. That would be the natural reaction. But there's nothing natural about the director's reaction. I think how each individual reaction changes across the whole testimony will be the key. Oh, I see. Sounds unnaturally complicated, but that somehow doesn't surprise me. So it's about the whole sadness. Hid to avoid getting shot. Afterwards, vanished, went into the lounge. That's when Detective Arm showed up. Okay, so the one bit that he's like the most terrified is this one. I mean, I kind of understand that. I guess he's not as scared in this circumstance, so I feel like this makes sense. Okay. No. Yes. No, apparently not. Okay, maybe it was the first one. It's got to be something to do with the whole sadness thing. Let me see. I went into the... Okay. Maybe it's this because... No, I've already done this. Like, why are you sad here? Let's say... All right. Super ridiculously sad here. No? Okay. Maybe it's a different emotion entirely. Or maybe the lack of emotion. Detective Arm appeared from the elevator side door. So you see, the killer could have only escaped to the launch. Yeah, there's a reason why there isn't. Okay, is the fact that there is no sadness here whatsoever over here? Why is he incredibly surprised? I'd kind of be surprised if he just, like, showed up. I guess I'll give it a shot. Oh! Jeez, okay, thank you, Mint. Director Cosmos, why were you so surprised when Detective Arm found you? And again, when she fired? Isn't that a bit unnatural? Yeah, what you think about that, Scooter Boy?
Sadly, even great men such as myself have ordinary human feelings. Our bodies are bound by the forces of gravity and emotions. Even a great man such as myself experiences surprise on occasion.
Yes, I'm sure you do. But my real point is not the fact that you were surprised, but rather what you were surprised by.
Pardon me?
First, you were surprised when Detective Arm found you in the lounge. And just after that, you were, of course, again surprised when she shot at you. But considering what you were surprised about, a strange phenomenon occurs here. Director Cosmos, what is strange about your surprised reaction is the fact that you were surprised twice. Not surprised by something else. More surprised when Arm came. Yeah, that's very true. Sure, you were surprised when Detective Arm shot you, but the surprise you felt when she found you in the lounge was much greater. The fact that you were more surprised by simply being found than being shot at suggests to me that you were conflicted about whatever it was you were doing there.
The enemy has acquired a new weapon. Commence Operation Hide Under Your Desk.
Please tell me I finally sunk his battleship. Yes! Oh no, there's still 30% noise. Boss, I'm getting less Discord now. That must mean he really is hiding something about that launch pad door. Whatever he's hiding most likely has something to do with the killer's escape. I wonder what it could be. If he was doing something suspicious around that door, maybe we can spot some change between before he came to the room door and after. It has to be the roll. Detective Fulbright gave us a photo taken after the crime. Let's run a comparison. Let's see. This is the footage of the door before Director Cosmos arrived. And this is how the door looked after the director entered the lounge. One of them is open and one of them isn't. There is a change. Something definitely different. Director Cosmos.
What is it? What have you two been up to over there?
Scheming, sir. Finding the answer to what you were doing when Detective Arm found you, that's what. And that answer lies clearly in this footage. All we have to do is compare it to the photo that was taken during the investigation.
Don't be ridiculous. If you really do have an answer, then you'd have pointed it out already.
Unless we're thick as balls, but you know. He's asking for it. This is what changed directly after the incident. I mean, I'd have to say it's probably the fact that the door is open. So let me try.
Take that!
I believe the answer is this.
And how exactly did that change?
It's such a futuristic building. It wouldn't be surprising if something like that could change. I think it would be pretty surprising. I guess you're right.
After all this time, your claim is what's surprising to me, Mr. Wright. Penalty.
Director Space Case won't fess up to anything without proof of what he did to that room. Okay, maybe it has something to do with, like, the panels on the side or something to that degree. Let me take a look at the court record real quick and look at that picture. So, that's the picture of what it was previously. There we go. We have a oh, look at that. I see the difference. We got a hatch sitting over there. Yeah, this thing is different.
Take that!
What does that do? What does this shiny button do? The answer is this knob.
That's it.
Your Honor, please take a look at this footage.
Let's see here.
Take a look at the knob next to the launch pad door. As you can see, it's horizontal.
Yes, it is, isn't it? What's your point? Horizontal, vertical. I went to school, Mr. Wright.
However, when we investigated the scene of the crime yesterday, the knob was vertical.
And what does that mean?
It means that sometime between before the director arrived and after, someone turned this knob. It's like his own little amusement park. Some of the penalty dialogue is gold, but since you're too much of a perfectionist, you never see it. Oh, dear. Oh, showing off the Phoenix Wright skills and knowing batshit logic. After the scene was discovered, you were the only one who could have turned the knob. Come on now, Director Cosmos. Let's hear what you have to say. What were you trying to do by turning that knob by the door?
Fine, I admit it.
Slow stop. You don't actually know anything. You just shut off the game every single time you mess up. Oh, fair enough.
You're right, I did turn that knob. That knob is a safety lock meant to keep the launch pad in place. I was afraid there would be more explosions, so I wanted to move the launch pad away.
You wanted to do what? Hey, didn't Ponko tell us something about how they prepare for launch? She said that once the launch pad's fully assembled, it's moved to the launch site. Getcha. But the safety lock in the boarding lounge has to be disengaged first. I guess that clears up what that knob is for. Oh, so if the killer escaped into the Launchpad 1 corridor, maybe they were transported along with the launch pad to the launch site. I don't think so. Launchpad 1 corridor was filled with smoke. I don't think they could have escaped through that corridor. So then where did the killer escape to? Yeah, exactly, Phoenix. I'm like, I guess there are still some things we have to uncover. Director Cosmos, I request that you tell us about moving the launch pad in more detail.
Fine, but listen carefully, for I'm about to give history-making testimony.
Ooh, yay, more emotion charts. I had no choice but to disengage the safety lock. Why the hell are you happy about that? I feared there might be more explosions, so I had to cut the launch pad loose. Surely the only escape the killer had was through Launchpad 1, and you're oddly angry about that. But that area was a sea of smoke. Confound it, where on earth could they have gone? It makes sense that he's angry. Shadow in the chat, I had no choice, smiley face. Okay, yeah. What? I had no choice but to disengage the safety lock. You make it sound like you were reluctant to do so. And yet when you did it, you felt some joy, as if you were very pleased with yourself.
How did you do it? How did you know everything as if you were there?
Pretty impressive, isn't it? This is the power of analytical psychology. So, care to explain why you felt joy when you disengaged the safety lock? When I think back on the facts we've discovered up to this point, I have to believe that you were trying to fulfill some hidden agenda. How did you know about that too? Because I'm more or less a pro at guessing.
But you have no proof that I had a hidden agenda. And even if I did, I would never, ever tell you, so there.
I know they say people regress as they grow older, but you, sir, take the cake.
And how could you doubt a man with such great intensity, intelligence, and integrity?
Silence.
This guy's a modern-day superhero.
You, a man of integrity? Don't make me laugh.
Prosecutor Blackwell? What came over him all of a sudden? He's been oddly quiet this entire therapy session.
You've spouted nothing but falsities since you stepped up to the stand. You're not the kind of man that will be glorified in the annals of history. Not for greatness, anyways. Unless you consider greatest barefaced liar an honor.
Liar!
Gulp! His words bite harder than his blade.
You moved Launchpad 1 after the explosions. My, how naive you are. You fail to realize how even the facts themselves have betrayed you.
You know, just a thought, but modern English can be your friend.
And here's a thought for you. Immediately following the bombing, I'm just gonna brush over that asshole. Launchpad 1 was on the boarding lounge one side. The police confirmed this on the scene.
What? You're a liar! So that means the director didn't move the launch pad?
Curse my judgment for calling history's greatest liar to the witness stand. Let us leave him to indulge in his lies and war games to his heart's content.
The liar!
Action!
He is really stuck on the spot on that one. But it doesn't make sense! You can't deny that someone turned that knob! And once the safety lock was released, I'm sure the pad must have went somewhere. If we chase down the truth on this issue, we just might find where the killer escaped to. Please don't kill me. I'm trying to make a point.
You're sure it must have went somewhere. We just might find out. Your arguments are nothing but conjecture, bluffing, and wishful thinking.
That's all I have, sir.
Shadow says, my sister takes care of all the modern things and robots. I prefer being a samurai, thank you. Stop chasing your fantasies and see reality for what it really is. Or are you not man enough to, boy?
Talk about hitting below the belt. Youngins these days. I don't understand it. I'm sure Director Cosmos must have moved the launch pad. The knob was definitely turned after he came to the lounge. But the launch pad is right where it's supposed to be. Ugh. Wait a minute. Maybe I have it all backwards. What if the director turned the knob not to move the launch pad away, but to bring it back to where it was supposed to be?
What are you blathering about?
Mint saying, his sister in the background, loudly singing Dance Like a Butterfly off key. What if the launch pad was at the launch site before the incident? And then, after the incident, Director Cosmos moved it back to its usual spot. All he had to do was turn the knob to call the launch pad back. And it would be right where the police found it. God, you bastard! My hair is lovely, and I do not want you cutting it. You made him sigh like Mr. Starbuck. Was what I said really that off base? Waka waka off base.
It pains me to have to explain how wrong your own logic is to you, however. Our great liar turned the knob only after he discovered the crime scene. Indeed, the pad existed beyond the lounge when our Astro Wonders made their escape. A fact that has been recorded for posterity on filmless film.
Oh, right.
So, to reiterate, stop chasing your fantasies and see reality for what it really is, boy.
Ooh, nice doggos, Tim. Get a grip, Mr. Wright, and focus. We know the launch pad must have been moved. What if Blackwell's sister died? Dang. That would have been bad. But our deductions and the actual facts of the case are in direct contradiction to each other. Well, maybe the two astronauts never actually boarded the rocket. This footage could be fake, taken with body doubles after the incident or something. But how or why? On second thought, that's too far-fetched even for me. Never actually boarded the rocket. Hey, wait a minute. Maybe, just maybe. Huh? Did I say something? Prosecutor Blackwell! What if I told you that the two astronauts never set foot inside the launch pad area, but instead went into another place? And what if when the director moved the launch pad 1 back, it was not from the launch site, but from another place? What would you say then?
Cut the existential ball and I'll cut you.
Jesus.
Mr. Wright, you will explain yourself at once.
I know I'm right. It was all the other way around from the beginning. Give me a second, I'm gonna save just because I do not have a good feeling about this next bit. Very well, Your Honor. Let me explain. Director Cosmo's reason for moving Launchpad 1 was to hide it, to switch it with another place, to trap the true killer. Oh my god. Because he wanted to trap the true killer. Oh, is this wrong?
Right, Dono, need I remind you that there was an explosion? And the corridor between the launch pad and the lounge was thick with smoke? If the killer had been trapped in there, they would have been found as dead as their victim.
Right, I forgot about that.
Well, I'm glad you both agree. Now, here's a penalty for you, Mr. Wright.
Ah, shoot. I don't agree with that penalty, though. Your Honor, please give me another chance. Director Cosmo's reason for moving Launchpad 1 was, well, I have plenty of options to try this out. He must have been hiding it somehow, like, for some reason. Because he wanted to hide Launchpad 1.
Well, let's suppose he did move it. Where in the world would he hide it? An enormous launch pad like that, I highly doubt it could be truly be hidden.
Behind something, maybe?
Mr. Wright, are you asking me or telling me?
Oh, shoot. Okay. Well, now that I know what the actual option is, I think I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go to the court record. Here, I'm gonna return to the title and I'm just gonna, like, load up my last save file. This is a little bit cheap, but I saved on purpose. Mario says, thankfully, there aren't 4 options. Here, let's do the time warp again. Da, 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 da. No need checkpoints, remember? I guess, just like a little bit of Shadow, I have a bit of a perfectionist thing in me. Anyway, to switch it with another place. There we go. Because he wanted to switch it with some other place.
I'm sorry, but did you say switch it? But what could he possibly have switched the launch pad with?
Oh, you'd be surprised, Your Honor. All it takes is a little thinking outside the box, and the answer becomes clear as day. This is what he was switched with Launchpad 1. Oh.
Take that!
Launchpad 1 was swapped with the Space Museum?
In the past, the Space Museum used to be Launchpad 2. It has all the same features as Launchpad 1 and can even be moved to the launch site. Meaning the Space Museum and Launchpad 1 can also be switched with each other.
You can't mean...
The rocket the astronauts boarded was not the one in Launchpad 1. It was the one in the Space Museum! Whoa.
What? Balderdash!
Shadow says, I took my retainer off and I'm risking more serious tooth pain just to eat some chocolate water ice. Chocolate water ice. Don't think I've ever had a combination of those two things. I suppose it will just sustain you. And yet, it's the only explanation that accounts for every riddle and inconsistency. Boulder Dash, hardest part in Mario Galaxy. This is how the Space Center was just before the incident.
I see Launchpad 1 and the Space Museum have already switched places.
That's right. And with the two switched like this. The astronauts entered the Space Museum from Boarding Lounge 1. This allowed the true killer to enter Launchpad 1 from Boarding Lounge 2. And set the bombs, the bomb on the rocket. Come to think of it, the door to the Space Museum from Boarding Lounge 2... Oh, hello, Ponko.
Welcome, welcome. The Space Museum is open to the public every day of the year from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Exactly. Anyone could pass through the door to the Space Museum. There's no fingerprint recognition system on that door. In other words, with the 2 launch pads switched like that, someone other than Mr. Starbuck could have easily planted that bomb. Lateral thinking. After setting the bomb on the rocket, the culprit snuck into boarding lounge 1 and waited there concealed. In order to kill Mr. Terran when the 2 astronauts emerged from the Space Museum, recall that Mr. Blackwell, Mr. Starbuck, and the director all saw a suspicious figure, who, we can suppose, after killing Mr. Terran, made their escape into the Space Museum. After that, Director Cosmos switched the 2 launch pads back, without realizing the killer was inside the Space Museum. Oh my god! This is amazingly well done, if this is actually the killer's intent. The killer then left the Space Museum and made a clean getaway! Ah!
Right, Dono, I see you know how to handle a sword and handle it well. Perhaps I should call you Swordmaster Bluff.
Shush. I'm a seasoned warrior who has cut down many a prosecutor. I am seasoned warrior Bluff, sir.
But unless you can prove your theory, it's no better than a rusty sword.
That's right. You have no proof I switched the launch pads. Somebody needs a better anger management counselor. If the launch pads really were switched, there might be a record of it somewhere. At this point, Launchpad 1 and the Space Museum were switched with each other. So the corridor beyond the door should be the one that belongs to the Space Museum. Let's see, there's an image of the Launchpad 1 corridor. Do you see anything different when we compare it to the security footage? Huh? That number on the floor. Ah, hello! Well, what do you know? It looks like we have proof after all, Prosecutor Blackwell.
And if this is just another bluff...
Oh, don't worry, it's all right here. The funny stuff says, I want to see Blackwell just shout, "I have the power of God and anime on my side," while doing this those poses and everything. That'd be great. The Shadow says, see what I mean by confusing? They literally allegedly switched the building around. I guess when you finally wrap your head around that, it actually works. Right in this footage. Proof that beyond this door is the corridor to the Space Museum.
Very well then, answer this for me if you would. What in this footage proves the corridor belongs to the Space Museum?
Well, how about we take a close look at this little number 2 in the back. There's a 1 on the floor of the Launchpad 1 corridor. But take a look at the floor on the corridor in the security footage. Do you see the number on the floor behind the astronauts? It doesn't look like a 1, does it? That's because what you see is actually part of a 2.
What?
Why is it a 2 and not a 1? That's because the corridor you see is the 1 to the Space Museum. And so that means the corridor in this footage was not filled with smoke. That's right, because the explosion didn't occur in the Space Museum. The explosion occurred in Launchpad 1 on the side opposite to the Space Museum. And now that we know the 2 astronauts escaped from the Space Museum, the mystery from the previous trial of how they got down the ladder is cleared up. Mr. Terran, carrying Mr. Starbuck, simply took the elevator from the upper level down to the middle level.
Just incredible! The 2 launch pods were actually switched. But you'd think someone would have noticed an event of this magnitude.
Everyone was down in the basement shelter when the launch pads were swapped back. There's no way anyone could have known what was happening on the surface. Unless they felt some ridiculous rumbles. Got it. Yep, you done messed up, sir.
Bye-bye.
No more lies, Director Cosmos, not Detector Cosmos. It's high time you told us the truth!
my honor, my glory, everything is slipping away. Time to deploy my ultimate weapon, galactic engine ignition! Whoa, it's gone haywire! Yeah, it won't stop! Stars! Yeah, my stars, my glory! Ah! Fucking... Oh my, what? No, not that way! Oh my god, that was great. Bailiff, on your steed and after that witness! You got some splaining to do. I mean, come on, man, don't feel too bad about it. He duped you. Whoever it was, they duped you. Funny Stuff says, I've been waiting this whole playthrough for that breakdown. That was pretty good. Pretty animated.
I see we managed to retrieve you before you came to any bodily harm.
Director Cosmos, do you admit you switched the launch pads?
I admit it's true. I switched the Launchpad 1 for the Space Museum. Ah, it's good to hear words I can believe for a change.
Before you do, Your Honor, two things. First, we don't know if Mr. Terran had prior knowledge of the switch. As for Mr. Starbuck, he was unaware of his surroundings thanks to his medication. Either way, Mr. Terran would have realized the instant he stepped into the Space Museum that it had been switched with Launchpad 1. So my first question is, if the Space Museum was perfectly fine, why did Mr. Terran feel the need to put on such a dramatic display? It's a very good question. I feel like they would have been of sound mind, at least like one of them. As for my second question, I'd like Director Cosmos to tell us why he switched the two launch pads to begin with.
Please, I can't. I exercise my right to remain silent.
You can. Shit.
But I will say, my hands were tied. I was only doing what I could to keep my men from getting caught in that blast.
The director is terrified. He must have one heck of a reason for not wanting to explain why. Probably not a good time to try to pry it out of him, huh? And break this poor sod.
Excuse me, but would you mind if I picked up my stars? Without my badge of rank, I'm nothing. I don't see why not. Bailiff, help the director retrieve his stars.
Oh, I feel horrible about it. I feel horrible for him. Although now he's probably going to be overinflated again.
It appears the possibility of a culprit other than the defendant has presented itself. Mr. Starbuck, is there anything you wish to say?
Probably a sigh.
I don't get it. Don't get it? Uh-oh, what do you get? What don't you get?
Director, why did you do all that? From the very beginning, you never meant for the launch to go ahead, did you? You tricked us! Mr. Starbuck?
Starbuck, my boy, I'm sorry. I can't tell you the reason why, but I had to do it to protect the Space Center.
Director? Will I ever get the chance to go into space again?
No. Yes, of course. I won't rest until it happens. I will get you into space again, my boy.
Then the dream is still alive. Oh, well, that's sweet. But now we need to find who... Okay, yeah, okay, yeah. Time to tear this whole thing down. What, you don't like sappiness?
You're not going into space, Starbuck, but Prism. I won't have it any other way.
Why are you so hung up on him?
Yes, I accept that the launch pad really were switched. And if there were a third person at the scene, I suppose they could have escaped. But I have yet to see proof of this third person's escape via the Space Museum. Oh, that's a good point.
He's right. I don't have any proof.
Starbuck, you will spill everything you know. What? Me? Where did you get those bombs? Tell me now. If you don't, my blade shall feast upon... Wait, my blade shall feast on your blood, not upon. If I'm gonna die, I want to die in space.
I have to do something.
Solomon Starbuck, prepare yourself.
Oh, please do not kill. Oh, thank God. Thank you, Black Hole. Now. You know violence isn't the answer, Prosecutor Blackwell. Or I hope that's... yeah, I really hope that is. That annoyingly cheerful laugh. It can be none other than... Yeah? Yep. Champion of righteousness, Bobby Fulbright here. In justice we trust. In justice we zap. Detective Fulbright! Sorry to keep you waiting, Mr. Lawyer. I hope I'm not too late. I don't believe we had an appointment. I tried to hurry, but I ended up helping a little old lady cross the street. And then I had to break up a catfight. I tell you, justice sure is a full-time job. Was it a fight between cats or... Why are you here again? Because the defendant isn't the culprit, and I came to make sure that justice is served. Please tell me you have proof. I don't have any idea what you're talking about.
Fulbright, I always thought you were a bit touched in the head. But have you finally succumbed?
Nope, but it looks like you've succumbed to this phantom of yours. Open your eyes and let the evidence of justice uncloud your judgment.
What evidence?
Injustice we claw. Injustice we cats. Injustice we old person? Come to think of it, he did say something about finding us some evidence. Thanks, you two. I feel a lot better now that I've been able to get that off my chest. I'm gonna work extra hard to find that perfect piece of evidence for you. Injustice we justice, of course. I didn't think he was serious, though. So, what is it, Detective? Is it something that will prove Mr. Starbuck's innocent? Injustice we just. Oh God, we've gone too deep. It is indeed. Have a look at this.
What's this? A lighter?
That's right, a lighter thought to have been used by the culprit, no less. The Space Museum's cleaning robot picked it up. It has the victim, Clay Terran's blood, along with his killer's fingerprints on it. Well, let's not jump to conclusions about whose fingerprints it is. Because that's gonna dig us even further deep.
Order! Order! Detective Fulbright, can I assume that the fingerprints don't belong to the defendant?
You bet. Mr. Starbuck is totally innocent. This is it. This is just what I needed. Who is guilty? Someone's gonna be appointed as guilty, and it's not gonna be good. Your Honor, this is decisive evidence that supports the defense's earlier claim.
Explain yourself, Mr. Wright.
With pleasure, Your Honor. Recall where this lighter was found. Based on that, we can extrapolate that after the killer murdered Mr. Terran, they escaped with lighter in hand into the Space Museum, where they dropped it. The switching of the two launch pads occurred. Yes, oh, I see. Then finally, the killer left through boarding lounge 2 and made their escape. Meanwhile, Mr. Starbuck was found in boarding lounge 1 after the murder, a fact that Director Cosmos has testified to. Therefore, Mr. Starbuck couldn't have possibly been the one to drop the lighter there.
Silence.
But the defendant had free reign of the area until Director Cosmos appeared. Could he not have dropped the lighter in the Space Museum during that span of time?
Objection.
You'd like that to be true, wouldn't you? But Director Cosmo testified that right after he saw the mysterious figure with a lighter, he went into the lounge and found the unconscious Mr. Starbuck. In other words, Mr. Starbuck wouldn't have had the time to double back to the museum. No, Prosecutor Blackwell, this lighter could only have been dropped by the real killer. Most importantly, Mr. Starbuck's fingerprints were nowhere to be found on this lighter. I think you understand what this means, don't you? This piece of evidence unequivocally proves that Mr. Starbuck wasn't the culprit.
This does indeed appear to be decisive evidence that proves the defense's claim.
As for the remote switch that was found in Mr. Starbuck's pocket, we can assume it was planted by the killer on the unconscious Mr. Starbuck.
No, there must be some mistake.
Frankly, Prosecutor Blackwell, I've been worried about you. You've been chasing this phantom for 7 whole years. I understand your urgency because tomorrow...
Shut your trap! Fulbright, you promised never to speak of that.
Huh? Tomorrow? What about tomorrow?
Given the body of evidence, I think it's safe to say the defendant is innocent. In light of the fact that it was impossible for him to have committed the crime, a few unanswered questions remain, so I look forward to seeing what you two uncover. But for now, this court finds the defendant, Solomon Starbuck, not guilty.
I was expecting horror there. What? Yes, we did it, mister. I'm so confused and I don't feel right about this. Looks like we pulled it off somehow, huh? With some help from Detective Fulbright.
Mr. Wright, Miss Sykes, thank you. And please, thank Apollo for me too. You are all the best.
Oh, I wish we could tell Apollo about Mr. Starbuck's verdict right now. Yeah, me too. But that's gonna have to wait.
Now the verdict has been reached, I'd like to bring today's trial to a close. Court is adjourned.
Objection.
I knew it! It's too late to object, isn't it?
It simply isn't possible. Something's wrong. Prosecutor Blackwell, are you dissatisfied with the verdict? Fulbright, what were the results of the fingerprint analysis with the lighter?
Oh, the results? Ew. Why are you laughing? Well, I was in a hurry, you see, and then there was that cat fight, and well, I kinda got carried away when I heard the prints weren't Mr. Starbuck, so...
You have yet to read it?
Prosecutor Blackwell, can you read out who the prints belong to?
Upon thorough analysis, the fingerprints were found to belong to Athena Sykes.
How?
So says the report.
What? What? Huh? Me? Huh? Oh no. Why? What were you doing with that lighter?
Order, I say! Order! Miss Sykes, tell me you have an explanation for this. We just finished proving that this lighter could only belong to the killer. So finding your prints on it can only lead us to one grave conclusion.
I don't know how they got there, but I know I'm not the culprit. What the hell did you touch while we were down there? This can't be happening. We built up our argument piece by piece, and I don't think any of our reasoning was faulty. So how could it have led to this? Ah, crap. What have I done? Please forgive me, I'm sorry.
Order! Order! Detective Fulbright, stop your crying!
What in the world is happening here? It's like the world's gone mad.
Order! Order! I will have order!
No, the crowd's freaking out. No order today. I love the shark music here. Confusion spiraled into utter chaos. After all we'd fought for, the truth had turned cruelly on us to accuse Athena of the crimes. Somewhere, somehow, everything had gone terribly wrong. We had stumbled over the edge of reason and into the jaws of a twisted darkness. Ah. Boy. Oh, what a horrible cliffhanger for the next episode. Shoot. Well, guess we're gonna figure out what the heck's happening next time. Turnabout for tomorrow. Let's go ahead and save. Ah, indeed. Let's see. Are there any cutscenes before we end this out, just for a nice little teaser? Oh, nope. It's just some text and stuff. So the first thing is no. Oh, wait. No one can escape their past. Oh, here we go. Okay, Missy, what did you do? Who did you kill? What did you see? You were a part of that incident 7 years ago, weren't you? The sins we've committed, and the sadness we've caused. There's a samurai sword. Oh dear. The true killers of these events. Who might they be? No matter how far we run, our past remains, as ever present as the moon in the sky. He does have the power of God in anime! Funny stuff, God. And there's Apollo being all anime-y. Maybe not God, but definitely anime. So cinematic. What happened on the moon? Some horrible thing happened on the moon. Maybe. I don't know. It looms in wait for the day when we are forced to face it. Ah, what a broken law system. Symbolism. But only in doing so can we truly make peace and move on in hopes. A hope towards tomorrow. Yeah. Screwed it up. Whatever. What do you expect with a stream? Anyway, yeah. December 20th, 1:23 p.m. Right. Oh, God. How did you manage to... boy. This is going to be very confusing when we get back. I guess we're going to be covering more of this Space Center nonsense and monstrosity just as soon as we manage to figure out what caused this. I have the suspicion that somehow we got a prosecutor that is actually innocent, and also, you know, a defense assistant that is also innocent at the same time. That's my assumption for what's going to happen in the story, just based off of the elements that we currently have sitting in front of us. But I guess we're going to be figuring that out the next time that we play the game. So that will just about do it for the stream tonight. Let me go ahead and head on over to the, to the subs and donations and stuff. And let me just make sure that this thing still works. There, where are you? One of these days I'm actually going to have like a very clean and clear setup for this whole thing. There we go. Anyways, thanks everybody for jumping out to the stream today. I appreciate it very much. And thank you to Mintiously for giving me the 5-bit donation. It is a silly amount, but I guess I appreciate it nonetheless. You literally do not have to give me anything. Even as a joke, it's hilarious. But anyways, if you want to take a look at this episode after it's done, I'm going to be posting it to the YouTube channel after a bunch of backlog gets finished up. Sadly, it seems like I'm perpetually always in backlog mode, which is unfortunate. I'm trying very hard to stay on top of it, but yeah, life gets in the way. You know how it is. But I will be uploading it at some point soon within the near future, I think. I stream on Saturdays, Sundays, and Wednesdays, all of them starting at around 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. And if you want to know some more games that I am currently lining up to play, I'm wondering whether or not Ben was serious about that whole playing multiplayer Hat in Time on Saturday. I may end up doing that. But I'm not entirely sure what we would even do. I guess it would just be a stream of just showing him the ropes and showing how that game even plays. As for Wednesday, I'm really not sure what I'm going to do for Wednesday. I'm really tempted to play Vacation Simulator, but I might do some other stuff depending on whether or not the pollen in the area decides to boot my head again. I don't know. We will definitely see. And of course I've been doing like Ace Attorney type of stuff, but like I said, we might have Ace Attorney on Sunday again next week, depending on whether or not I have something specific I was setting up for Saturday. Okay. That's about the gist of it. I'm going to take off here. Now again, thanks for coming out. See you next time.